Hello, it's Sam from Threads of My Life, and I've got a little tutorial here on how to bind your quilt using your backing fabric as the binding. Once you've quilted, sandwiched and quilted your quilt, this is my sample here, I've just done some straight row quilting stitches. I have trimmed the quilt top and the fluffy batting layer to be the same size. I've gone square-ish. It's not perfect, but it's perfect for what I need. I'm now going to trim by eye approximately, I don't know what that is, 2 centimeters, half an inch, maybe an inch. Let's have a look. I've got my measuring ruler. Yeah, 2 centimeters or just under an inch. All the way round. I'm doing it by eye. Again, you can get a rotary cutter and a ruler and do it accurately, but by eye is absolutely fine because we're going to fold it in on itself. Not a huge amount taken off. Starting in the center of one side, and this will work for any size quilt, I'm going to fold the outside edge of my backing fabric towards the edge of the quilt top and the batting and finger press it in place. Then you're going to wrap that over to the front. So that was one fold and fold again up and over. Now to secure it whilst you're stitching, you've got a few options. You could use little clips, which I prefer because they're easy, but you could use binding clips, they're a bit like hair clips, or some safety pins, but they have a tendency to stab you, so I tend not to use those. But for today's tutorial, I'm just going to use these, and I'm just going to use one because it's not that long an edge. I've threaded a sturdy needle with some DMC pearl cotton size 8, and I've tied a knot in one end. And I'm going to keep my knot visible. I'm going to also put on some thimbles because it is tricky sewing through multiple layers of fabric. I've decided to keep my knot on the front, and I'm going to start in the center and sew through all the layers. I could go closer to the edge, but I quite like it just shy. I'm only doing one stitch at a time because I'm sewing through a bit of ribbon at the moment and it is tricky. But you'll get into a rhythm and you'll find your own way. And I'm going to sew with my running stitch, so up and down, through all the layers to the end of this edge of the quilt, and I'm going to finish on the front side. So I've got my thread coming out on the front and I've sewn a row. I'm now going to whistle it round a little bit, take my thimbles off, and this is where the corners are. So this is where the fun starts. Give that a press to make it as flat as possible. Then I'm going to fold this corner in to make a triangle, and I'm going to finger press it again. And then I'm going to do what I did on this side. I'm going to take my outside edge of my backing, fold it so it meets the edge of my quilt, top and batting, and then fold it over again. You might need to manipulate it with your fingers, but you should get, oh, that's not quite that neat, so let's make this a little bit neater. I want to get that right up to the edge of the quilt there. So in, one fold, over, one fold. Yeah, I'm happy with that. Or am I? No, I'm not. There we go. This is real life happening right before your eyes. Finger press, fold. Doesn't want to go over. I think it's the ribbon, it's thicker there, but that's okay. Clip, and I might just do another clip to hold that corner whilst I sew. Now, thimbles back on because this will be super tricky otherwise. My thread is under here somewhere. I'm going to take a stitch to the front and down, just, there you go, if I take that off you can see where I've stitched, and pull that through, and then I'm going to come up and I'm going to stitch a little kiss shape, I suppose, or it's actually going to be a, no, it's going to be a kiss. A couple of stitches in that corner to hold that. There we go, you can see that there, and I'm happy with that corner. Then from the back I'm going to come up again and continue along. I can go a bit more stitches on my needle there, and I'm going to be clipping and folding and clipping as I go. So hopefully when we get to the end I can show you that corner again. And I've chosen to use a darker thread just so you can see it clearly. Oops, my clip's in the way there. And again, got to the edge of your quilt, and I'm going to do the next corner. I might show you with some of these clips. So, as before, finger press it, fold that corner up in line with the bottom of your quilt, press, outside edge, in, press. That's the beauty of working with things like cotton and linen, is that they will hold that crease for you whilst you're working. I might snip that little thread because it's annoying me. And then we're going to come up and oh look, that's a better corner. Right, so with these clips I can just clip it in place like that, and that will hold it nicely. Thimbles back on. Two stitches, so the thread's coming up. I'm going to go down, one, and up from the back side, like a back stitch. You can do two parallel stitches, you can do little crosses, whatever takes your fancy. I've got little crosses on mine. Now I can unclip that because that is a securely held corner, and that is thick there. And then we're going to stitch along this row of binding again, and this way of, even on a big quilt, this is a quick and efficient way of binding a quilt. You don't have to, it's not too complicated at the corners, you're not having to invisibly join binding, which can be quite tricky when you're learning. You're not having to sew one side and then the other, or get the machine out and try and get it accurately machined in place as well. This is possibly my favourite way of binding a quilt. And again, all the way to the end of that row. Minding your fingers underneath so you don't stab yourself. And get another stitch in there. There we go. That was stiff. Look how neat that is. Lovely. Right, final edge, full edge anyway. We've got the last corner to do. So to repeat, outside edge in to form a sharp corner, finger press in place, outside of your backing, folding towards your quilt top and batting sandwich, press that in place and fold it over. There we go, that's nice. And I'm going to use these clips. There we go. Right, thimbles. If you've never worn a thimble before, I would highly recommend it for just protecting the pads of your fingers, because hand stitching through multiple layers of fabric can be quite sore if you don't. Some people don't get on with them, and that's their choice, and that's absolutely fine, but I've got delicate fingers. Right, I'm happy with that stitch. There we go, that's better. Move that clip now, and then stitch along. And I recommended a sturdier needle for sewing the binding, ouch, because otherwise your needles will get, I mean, they'll get bent anyway, but they do bend even more when they're a finer needle. So a Sashiko needle, although they can be quite stiff. I do like the milliner's needles, one of the thicker ones, maybe like a size 9. They just give you a little bit more control, I suppose. Nearly at the end there, and I can show you how to finish that whole thing. So I've tried to start, when I started doing the binding, I started in the centre of a side. On a smaller quilt, that still doesn't give you a huge amount of room. I've only got, what, 1.5 inches, 5 centimetres. But on a bigger quilt you'd have more, you'd probably start much further, so you'd have more space to play with. And I'm going to just trim those little bits because they're going to get in the way. So same thing, press it in place, outside edge to form that triangular corner. You can see that. Outside edge of the backing into the edge of the quilt and over, and hopefully, don't like that. That's a little bit tighter. Hopefully that will give us a nice corner. It will do, and I don't need to pin loads of places because where I started is holding it. Already this is looking sweet. Okay, 2 stitches in place, 1 and 2, and I think the little kisses look cute on this on this little quilt, and then the last few stitches here, and you have yourself a teeny tiny little quilt, which you can use as a coaster, or you can turn into something useful, or you can just simply hang it in your home. Right, there we go. To finish off, I'm going to tie a knot. It's very simple. 2 of those will do me. And snip. And there you have it. Binding from the back, 1 mini quilt. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. Bye.